Hey, I'm Jenny with Jenny Lane Wreaths. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a 4-ribbon bow like this one. This is a Christmas bow, but you can make it for any season just by switching out the ribbons. The materials that you need will be listed in the description below, but you will need a bow maker from probowthehand.com. You will need 4 ribbons. 2 of them will be 2.5-inch wired ribbons, and the other 2 will be 1.5-inch wired ribbons. You will need floral wire and wire cutters and scissors. And optionally, you can use a bow fluffing box, also available on probowthehand.com, but you don't have to have that. Let's get started. To make the 4-ribbon bow, your probow the hand should be set up like this. 1 peg in the bottom center, 1 peg above it, and 4 pegs above that on either side in row C, with 8 pegs total in row C. You will also need 2 longer pegs in your spool holder for your ribbon. Okay, to get started, we need our first ribbon. The first ribbon is always going to be the top ribbon of your bow. I'm going to put my ribbon on my spool holder, and when you put it on, you want to make sure that when you pull the ribbon, it's turning clockwise on the spool holder. Okay, so this is my first ribbon, which is the top ribbon of my bow. The next step is we need to measure 2 pieces of wire, and they both need to be about the length of your board. So this one, we'll do the second one. Now I'm going to fold these 2 wires in half. You're going to make the ends meet, and then just pull with your finger here to make it fold in the middle. And do the same with the other one. Fold in the middle. Now I'm going to pull my first ribbon over. When I make a 4-ribbon bow, I like for the tails to gradually get longer. So my top ribbon is going to have the shortest tail. So I'm going to take that out to about the letter E on the board. And that's going to be my tail from the peg to the letter E. So this is going to be my scrunching point here. I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to scrunch it up. And I'm going to put my first wire on it. You want to put the middle of the wire where you bent it right in the place where you scrunched. And I like to just wrap one way with that half and then wrap the other way with the other half, and then my wire's on. Okay? And you want one piece sticking up and one piece sticking down. Just like that. Okay, the next step is going to be to get your ribbon onto your pegs. And what I do is you're going to want to pull this whole thing up and around this peg and down again, okay? Always leaving this part of the ribbon facing out, the top of your ribbon facing out. I'm gonna come around, just like that. I'm gonna take my tail and pull it underneath this ribbon and out of the way. We don't need it right now. Now, I wanna take this part where the wire is attached, and I want it to be right in the middle of this peg. So my ribbon where the wire is attached is right in the middle of this peg. I'm going to hold it here. And I'm going to take my top wire, wrap it clockwise around the peg, and leave a little piece sticking up so you can pull it off when you're done. Right? Then you want to take the other half of the wire, the other piece, and making sure that you're still in the middle here, and hold it with your thumb, and you want to pull this wire down and wrap it around this nail here. Just twice is fine. Once, twice, and then I'm going to stick this end under the board, out of the way. The next thing I like to do is turn the tail the right way. You can do this at the end too, it doesn't really matter that much, but you really want this side, the front top side of your ribbon, to be facing up. So I'm going to just twist it. Give it one good twist, and now it's facing the right way, and I can have it out of the way again. All right, now you're going to take this piece and pull it snug, not too tight, and you want to make sure that the wire here is still in the middle. You don't want it to go off to the side. Okay, so keep it in the middle. You're going to pull it nice and tight, nice and snug, and you're going to put your finger here and scrunch your ribbon and give it one turn. Okay, you're going to turn it towards you, and the top of your ribbon is going to be facing the top of your board. And then we're going to take it and wrap it around that first peg. Okay, there's our first loop. For this bow that we're making, we're going to have 2 loops on the first pegs on each side, and 2 loops on the second pegs, and then 3 loops on the third pegs, and 3 loops on the fourth peg. So it's going to be 2, 2, 3, 3. All right. So on these 2 inside pegs, we're only doing 2 loops on each side. So here's our first loop. We're going to bring it down, put your finger here, and scrunch and turn. And make sure, and when you scrunch and turn, that makes your ribbon, the top of your ribbon, face the top of the board. You're going to bring it up around that inside peg, and there's our first loop on that side. Okay, put your finger here, scrunch and turn, and do our second loop on that side. Finger here, scrunch and turn, second loop on that side. Okay, so now we have 2 loops on these inner pegs. We're going to scrunch it one more time, turn it, and we're going to make our tail on this end, okay? Going out again to the letter E, I take my scissors and cut it there. Here's where the second wire comes in. Because we have multiple ribbons, we need this other wire to tie them in. So we're going to take this wire, and I'm going to slide it in between this ribbon and this peg, and slide it underneath so it comes out right here, okay? And right in the part that we bent, the middle part, I'm gonna grab both ends of that wire and pull that bent end so that it's right in the middle here. So I've pulled my wire around, and I'm holding this ribbon with my thumb so it's still taut. And I'm going to take this wire, I'm going to hold this ribbon with my pinky for a second, okay? I'm going to take this wire, and I'm going to pull tight. Okay, and you can do 1 or 2 turns. And then you want one end of the wire going up, the other end going down. Be careful not to poke your eye out. Now, our first ribbon is tied in. And we have our tails. You can either put the tails up here, or you can leave them down. When I'm finished making the bow, all my tails are going to go down, so this works. Now I'm going to take this ribbon off the spool holder, and I'm going to get my second ribbon, which is my sparkly green. I'm going to make sure it's pulling clockwise. I'm going to pull it over, and this time I'm going to make the tail a little bit longer, because like I said, I like for each ribbon to have a slightly longer tail as I go from top to bottom. So my second ribbon, the tail's going to come out about to the end of the board, and I'm going to scrunch it, and this time I don't have to go around a middle loop at all. So remembering that I always want the top of my ribbon to face the top of my board, I'm going to flip this ribbon now before I tie it in, okay? So we flipped it over, the top is facing the top, and I'm just going to take this wire, pull it taut, and give it 2 twists, okay? Now my second ribbon is tied in, and the top of my ribbon is facing the top of my board, and all I have to do is now take this ribbon and loop it over my second peg. Now notice it's turned here. That's okay. When we turn it on the other side, that's going to fix it, okay? So we're going to pull it snug, put my finger here, scrunch it, 1 twist, and keep my tail out of the way. I'm going to pull it around, and I'm going to loop it over the second peg on that side. All right. Now remember, I'm doing 2 loops on these second pegs as well. So I've got my first loop on each side. I'm going to bring the ribbon back and put my finger here and scrunch and turn and do my second loop on each side. So that side, my finger here, scrunch and turn, and do my second loop on that side. Put my finger here and scrunch and turn. And I'm done with that ribbon. And I'm going to cut the tail to be just to the end of the board like I did on the other side. And I'm going to take this wire. Remember, this is the second wire. This is not the original wire. Okay, and I'm going to hold the ribbon there and pull the wire snug. and do about 2 turns. Okay, we have our second ribbon done. You want to try to keep the ribbon in the center on top of each other as much as you can. Next, we're going to go to our third ribbon. I'm going to put it on my spool holder. Make sure it's going clockwise. Okay, it's going clockwise. I'm going to pull it over. This is my third ribbon. I'm going to take my tail out a little bit past the end of the board now. I generally like for each tail to be about 1 inch longer than the tail before it, and I like to leave myself a little bit of leeway so I can adjust it at the end. So I'm going to take that out past the end of the board. I'm going to scrunch in the middle here, and then I'm going to do that same thing that I did with the second ribbon. I'm going to flip it so that the top of my ribbon is facing the top of my board. I'm going to take this wire, pull it taut, turn it twice. And I've still got 1 wire up and 1 wire down. Now remember, your ribbon is going to be twisted here, but that's okay. You want the top of your ribbon facing the top of your board. And now we're going to start with our third ribbon. We want 3 loops on each side. So I'm going to take it up and around that peg, pull it taut, put my finger here, scrunch and turn, pull the tail out of the way, up and around that third peg. Bring it here to the center, put your finger right in the center, scrunch and turn. And my second loop on that side. My finger here, scrunch and turn. My second loop on that side. Scrunch and turn. Now I'm going to do a third loop this time on each side. My finger here, scrunch and turn. And I'll do my third loop on this side. Put my finger here and scrunch and turn. And then we're done with that one. So I need to cut this tail also past the end of the board as I did the other side. I'm going to take this wire. Remember, we're still on that second wire. I'm holding the ribbon here with my thumb, and then I'm going to grab the wire and pull it taut and turn twice. 1 more ribbon to go. I take this one off, and I put this one on. Okay, so I put my 4th ribbon on the spool holder now. This is our red truck ribbon. And I'm gonna pull it around. And this one, I'm gonna make also past the end of the board, slightly longer than the last one, and we'll adjust that when we're done. I'm gonna scrunch it in the middle and turn so that the top of my ribbon is facing the top of my board. And I'm going to tie it in with this second wire again. Pull it taut, turn it twice. Now we're ready to go. I'm going to get the tail out of the way. We're going to do 3 loops again. Do our first loop on that side. Finger here, scrunch, and turn. Then we do our first loop on that side and put our finger here and scrunch and turn, trying to keep it in the middle. Second loop on this side. Sometimes when my loops don't lay flat right here, I used to feel worried about that, but then I realized that once you fluff your bow, it turns out just fine. So don't worry about that if it's not completely laying flat right there. Okay, so here's our second loop. Finger here, scrunch and turn. Second loop on that side. Finger here, scrunch and turn. Now we do our third loop on this side. Finger here, scrunch and turn. And our third loop on this side. Finger here, scrunch and turn. And now we cut our tail on this side. And we're gonna tie this in, this last ribbon, with our second wire still. Pulling it down. And when you're tying these in, you wanna try to keep these wires lined up right in the middle as much as you can. So I'm holding this with my thumb, and I'm gonna pull the wire taut and twist it. Since this is the last ribbon, I twist it about 6 times. And then I cut the ends off and I bend this in half and squeeze it together, and then I bend it down and out of the way. So to tie the whole bow together, we need to take our original wire and unwind it from the peg. Okay, and unwind it from the nail below. And now we're gonna tie the whole bow together, okay? And we wanna kind of take your thumbs and scrunch them together a little bit. Then you're gonna take this wire and pull it tight. Pull taut, pushing it, scrunching it together as much as you can to make sure it's tight. And you're gonna twist it maybe 6 times. And this is the wire that you will use to attach your bow to the wreath, okay? So you don't want to cut that one. All right, now we're gonna slide the bow off of the pegs. And now we need our bow fluffing box. If you don't have a bow fluffing box, you can just fluff it the same way I'm gonna do on the box, but just in your hands. So I'm gonna take the bow, the side where the tails are facing up, that's the front of your bow. So you're gonna take the wires, the 2 ends of the wires, and put it through the eyelet here. And I like to put my finger inside the middle loop of the bow and push down so I can get the bow on the box nice and tight. And you pull the wire taut and wrap it around the nail there. Okay, now you're ready to fluff. Pull the tails forward, and then the first step is to separate the outer ribbon. You got 3 loops here, and you can straighten out the wire. And because you have this anchor of the fluffing box, you can really pull it whichever way you need to. All right, once we fluff those 3 on the outer layer, then we move to the next layer. Notice that this layer is down here at the bottom. I like to take the whole thing before I start separating it, and I hold the bottom layer and I pull this layer up a little, okay? Now it's positioned more where I want it. And then I separate these and I straighten the wires, and I put my fingers in and push the wires out so it's nice and fluffy. There, that lines up perfectly. Now I'm gonna do the same thing with the second layer here. I'm gonna grab it, I'm gonna hold my bottom 2 layers carefully, and I'm gonna pull this up a bit. There, okay? Now I'm gonna separate these. I'm gonna straighten the wires, fluff them up with my fingers. Okay, then our first layer, I'm gonna pull it up too. Separate those and fluff them. Perfect. Then I take my middle loop here and I hold the tails and I pull it up a little bit and fluff it. Now that whole side is done. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna take the outer layer, separate them, straighten the wires. Sometimes they're a little bent down here, but see how easy it is to straighten this out? So you just take this and pull it out and it's perfectly fine. So that's why I don't worry about it if it's not perfectly straight on the peg. So you can, when you're fluffing, you can just straighten it right out. Okay, there's that one. And this one. Okay, that's the first layer. Now I'm gonna take this layer and I'm gonna pull it up a little. I'm gonna separate these. I'm gonna straighten the wires down here a little bit and fluff them out. There. Now that layer is fluffed. Now we will do the next layer, the green ribbon. I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna hold these two layers, I'm gonna pull this one up a little. And I'm gonna spread them out. There we go. And last but not least, the final layer, I'm gonna hold the other three layers and pull it up. And you can pull pretty hard. And then I'm gonna spread it apart and fix my middle loop again. And you know, this takes some playing with sometimes. And play with it until you get it the way you want it. And now your bow is fluffed. And the final step is to take a look at your tails and cut them to the right length. So I start with the top one and I just do a diagonal cut to make it look pretty at the end. Then I'm gonna check to see that the two sides are the same length. When I make my cut on this side, I'm gonna try to make it that length. Okay? I'm gonna use the top ribbon as my guideline, and I'm gonna go just a little bit longer with each one, just by eye, you know. I like it to be right about there, so I'm gonna and you can cut it and see if you like it. That's perfect. I'm gonna do the other one the same way. All right, looking good. Now, I take the next ribbon and I go a little bit longer. I'm gonna cut on the diagonal and I'm gonna check it. No, I think I want it a little bit shorter, so I'm gonna cut it one more time. It's better to go longer and then cut it again. Err on the side of caution. All right, I'm gonna make the other tail the same. That's good. And lastly, the truck one. I come right out to about there. Yep. And make the other one the same. Now you have your tails the right length and looking very pretty. And now we're going to take the bow off by unwrapping the wire. And here we have our beautiful 4-ribbon Christmas bow. You can adjust the loops as you like. You can adjust the tails as you like. And you can use this wire at the back to attach it to your wreath. Thanks for watching. Check out my Etsy page at jennylanewreaths.com.